Well, usually when I start out with a new project, it's sometimes an idea that I get, or something I hear, or an event that I know happened, or I'll meet somebody who's totally fascinating to me, and then try and construct a story around it, and find what's truly interesting for me in the story, which sometimes takes quite a long time. And so consequently, I'll begin something and take it to a certain stage, and it may even take the form of being a complete screenplay, as in fact Heat was. But I know that there's something fundamentally amiss, there's something wrong with it. It's not, it doesn't really satisfy me, and so then I might put it down and do something else for 3 or 4 years. Then occasionally I've gone back to one or two of them, and Heat's one I went back to. The amount of time I take between projects is not a method, it's an irritant. I mean, it's frustrating to me. I would much prefer to direct maybe 2 films in 3 years or 3 films in 3 years, but finding something I want to do next is very difficult. I only do films I truly believe in, and that's not a recipe for how directors ought to work. I probably would have. I love shooting film. I love editing film. So I'd probably be happier if I was constituted a little differently and a little bit more of a journeyman and could make, some films because I felt that, okay, I've just finished this picture, I've taken a month off, now it's time to go back to work.
I don't work 40 hours a week and come home and take Saturday and Sundays off and leave my work at the office. I don't know how to live like that. I never did that in my whole life, and I don't want to.
Something really has to arrest me, and it has to have multiple levels of significance to me.
Remember Jimmy McElwain on the yard used to say, you want to be making moves on the street, have no attachments, allow nothing to be in your life that you cannot walk out on in 30 seconds flat if you spot the heat around the corner.
I have to feel usually that there's some mystery in it, that there's some frontier that I personally haven't, kind of encountered or entered into. It has to challenge me in order to be exciting.
It keeps me sharp, on the edge, where I gotta be.
You don't live with me. You live among the remains of dead people.
I don't think it's a difficult path to tread. It's a rewarding one. I never have those kinds of crises of doubt, like why am I making this picture? What am I doing here? If I have those moments that all directors have at one point or another, it's I have to rise to the occasion of this material, or I've lost an insight I had 3 weeks earlier. I have to go back and recapture it.
I do what I do best. I take scores. You do what you do best, trying to stop guys like me.
The Heat screenplay precedes both pictures, the full-blown 180-page large form of it. And the very first time I wrote it was in the late 70s. Then I wrote it again after I did Thief. I didn't want to go back into the same arena. And so I remember I asked my friend Walter Hill, I asked him if he'd do it. He didn't want to do it. Then in 88 or 89, whenever I shot LA Takedown, I abridged it severely. I abstracted probably something like 110 pages from the 180 pages. LA Takedown was an hour and 40 minutes. He's 2 hours and 45 minutes. So it's lacking in the sense that it's not fully developed.
So I can handle all kinds of things, man. They ain't invented the kind of things I can't handle.
Stop talking.
He had 6 months of pre-production. It had a 107-day schedule. LA Takedown had 10 days of pre-production and had a 19-day schedule. So time is the biggest determining factor in what you get, time and money. That's what we work with. So to compare one to the other, and the experience is like kind of comparing freeze-dried coffee with, Jamaican Blue Mountain.
I chased down crews. The guys are just looking to go back.
You must have worked some pretty bad off crews.
I worked all kinds.
You see me doing thrill-seeker liquor store holdups with a Born to Lose tattoo on my chest?
You see me doing thrill-seeker liquor store holdups with a Born to Lose tattoo on my chest?
No, I do not.
Right. I am never going back.
it's a completely different kind of undertaking. Now, both exist on film. People see both, and they make a comparison to it. For the people who work making a film, this difference is cosmic. The central event occurred. A friend of mine who was a sergeant in the Chicago PD told me the story. What was so unusual about it is here's two men who are engaged in a mortal conflict directed at each other. Each man wants to kill the other man. At one and the same, we like both of them. It's not that we like one and fear the other one who we don't like. They also have rapport with each other.
So you never wanted a regular type life?
The fuck is that? Barbecues and ball games?
Yeah.
This regular type life, that your life?
My life? No, my life. No, my life's a disaster zone.
From that basic contradiction of two people who are not antagonists and protagonists, but two protagonists who are in conflict, I mean deadly, mortal conflict with each other, at the same time have a high regard for each other. That nucleus is the nucleus of the screenplay.
I got a great woman I'm truly in love with, but I'm probably losing her because I spent all my time chasing guys like you around the block. So right now I'm alone.
Then where's all the good stuff?
I don't know.
LA Takedown, to me, constitutes something that I'd like to do actually on every film, which is get the chance to shoot a prototype and learn what's wrong and play around with it. And it's very much a fast prototype. LA Takedown was shot in 19 days. Heat was shot in 107 days.
Hold it.
What was terrific about doing LA Takedown was being able to do, what people do in theater all the time, which is open a play for 4 weeks at the Long Wharf, in New Haven before you take it to New York City. You learn things about it. You get deeper into character. You see where the shortfalls were. I didn't plan it to be that way. I didn't think LA Takedown was going to be a prototype. It just happened that it served as a prototype in a way. So anyway, that was 88, 89 for LA Takedown. Then I went and did Mohicans. Then I took the script from 86, predating LA Takedown, and I read it, and suddenly I said, I was knocked, I really wanted to do it.
There is no point talking to you, because all you are is a child growing older.
What's this supposed to mean?
It means we're not making forward progress like real grown-up adults living our lives, because I'm married to a gambling junkie who won't listen.
I liked the formal structure that it had of almost verses and choruses, where you would have the action on the street, the events that are going down, and then it would just segue into and dive you into 5 individual inner emotional lives, inner emotional domestic and dramatic situations, and then again move forward as the events move forward.
One's coming out.
Just hold it, Captain. Vincent, he's not carrying anything.
Yeah, I see.
Here we go. Not till my boss says so. Vincent, both of them are not carrying anything.
Part of that is because I know that in scale I'm driving into a very intimate insertion into the emotions and feelings and psyche of only 2 people. And not only 2 people, but they are the only 2 people like each other in the universe of this film.
It's worth the stretch.
This guy can hit and miss. You can't miss once. You sure?
I'm sure.
There's a language of form in our lives. Why a Gothic cathedral makes us feel a certain way. Why the immaculate rationality and reason of Regency architecture at early, 1815, 1820, with the absence of decoration, and the way a window is cut, punched into that plane, it's perfectly rational, it's perfectly symmetrical. This impacts on our brains in certain very specific ways. And that's part of the tool, because these people aren't walking around in a vacuum, they're walking around in rooms and places, and this is a visual medium. Not because the actors aren't important, and not because the characters aren't important, just the opposite, they're terribly important. But how we want the audience to feel, how we want to set up their emotions about the place they're in and the space that these people are in, that's a very aggressive, very dynamic tool to do it.
That's where we cut in.
What are we gonna use for?
Well, a core drill, definitely.
And so it's not just, here's a picture of a building. We move through, we dwell. The small screen doesn't give you anything for the cityscapes of LA. It gives you nothing. It gives you a little tunnel.
This is where they stood. This was their point of view.
Television cannot surround you with experience. It just can't do it. The screen's too small. So you're doing different things. First of all, in television, events of a story, the actual plotting has to drive faster because it's events and people's heads talking that deliver impact. It's not going to be an experience of a place I'm in.
Now, once it escalated into a murder 1B for all of them after they killed the first two, they whacked guard number 3 because it didn't make a difference anymore, so why leave a witness? So this is a crew. Anyone gets in their way, drop of a hat, it's rock and roll. Now also, the way they went into the side indicates they are equipped to go in on the prowl.
Through cinematography, you can use more subtle or more sophisticated tools. You can't do that on a small screen. You can on a large screen.
Once it escalated into a murder 1B for all of them after they killed the first 2 guards, they didn't hesitate. Pop guard number 3, because what difference does it make? Why leave a living witness? Drop of a hat, these guys will rock and roll.